What's up, everybody? It's Mark from 403 Fauna, along with, well, hopefully Jason will show up. I haven't heard from him yet. If he doesn't, it's going to be kind of a short show because, I'm not much of a talker. He's the one. But I do want to talk about the topic that's just been blowing up the ball python industry the past week, which was the stolen sunset clown. So, just a crazy story. And I was there for I guess part of it because I was there prior to the disappearance of the snake. I did attend the Pomona Reptile Show, Super Show, or LA Pet Fair now. And it's just crazy. I think I didn't really think that Mike was involved with this. So we'll talk about Jason's here now. Let me put him on stage. There he is.
Sorry, everybody. Jason, Radass Designs.
All good. Thank you for showing up. It wouldn't have been much of a show without you.
No.
Let's get the fauna topic started. The fauna topic is a show where we talk about relevant topics in the ball python and reptile industry. And, there's been one topic that's been dominating the industry for the past week, and that's the stolen sunset clown. So we'll expand a little bit more on that. I kind of wanted to give a different perspective on it. Everybody's been just ready to throw the guy under the bus, and I was as well as when I heard that he was involved with it. But there's always two sides to every story, and I kind of want to prevent the other side of it. And let me just say that I have no affiliation with Mike of NSane Clown Pythons. I did feature him on one of my videos last year, I think the Pomona Reptile Show from last year. And I just want to get that out of the way because I don't want to be canceled myself over this whole affair. But yeah, so let's get to our regularly scheduled program before we start talking about that stuff. Let's get our weekly check-in. Jason, how have you been this past week?
Good. It's been really hot, as you know, and so like crazy hot, like setting records.
Yeah.
I think Palm Springs set a record last week. It was like 124. That's hot. I think the hottest that I've been in is like somewhere between like 115, 117 a couple times. And it's too hot for my fragile skin. I'll dehydrate like a raisin. But yeah, this last weekend I went out to La Jolla, which is on the coast near you, and it's kind of a pricey town, but found a really good place to rent that was like a quick walk to the beach. So it was like not even a block to the beach, and the beach isn't like so huge. Like in Northern California, all the beaches I'm used to have like dunes, and like they go for like half a mile before you even get to the waves. But this one is just like, boom, a bunch of rocks that you can stand on. People are taking pictures. Couple people were getting married, like waves crashing. And it was really cool. The sand is really nice there too. Each beach kind of has its own like sand. And I don't know, I guess I really like La Jolla sand. It's really fine and nice. And it was a really good time, a good weekend. And, that was a nice way to get out of the heat because it's been so hot, so pretty good temperatures there. Good time with my special friend. And I kind of just been taking it easy up on the mountain in the days since then. So I did go to Huntington Beach on Monday. That was fun. I like it there too. Anything to get away from the heat. Like even in Big Bear, it's pretty warm. I think it was like 90 today. But yeah, good week. I just got here a little while ago, so I haven't really checked for eggs and all that kind of stuff. I'll do that when the show's over and give them some attention, and then I'll come back in a few days and prepare to ship a couple snakes. I did sell a couple snakes on Morph Market auction in the last like week and a half. So the pastel ultra male female that I got the double het eggs from, she was paid for and is going out to someone really nice. and then I auctioned my pastel monarch male the other day. And that didn't really get the dollar figure that I was looking for, but the person is really happy with the deal, and the snake will move on to someone else's collection and make some pretty cool stuff. So that recoups a little bit of money. I'm not mad about that. That's about it. I'll go and look for eggs in a little bit and check on the eggs in the incubator. They're sitting there at 88.5 degrees, but I think I'm check on them, give them some air, see what's going on, and probably just a few weeks away from some like possibly hatching my first clown. So that would be pretty cool.
All right.
That's about it. How about you? How have you been? You're enjoying summer break?
Yeah, there's only about a week left of it though, so I gotta enjoy what I can for now. But poor little me, right? But I was peeking at your pastel monarch auction, and last I saw it was like at 750, and I was like, oh, that's not too bad so far. I was hoping it would hit 1,000 for you. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I wanted at least 1,000. But I got a really good deal on him, and I have eggs in the incubator from him. So it's fine. He did a really good job for me, and somebody gave me a good deal. So it was just kind of meant to be that somebody else got a really good deal, and that's pretty cool when you really think about it. And I just look forward to hatching some monarchs, and hopefully I do. And I'm sure one of them will be a male. There he'll be replaced. It's all good. But yeah, they got a super good deal. And sometimes, as you know, you've seen that, like snakes, we've put snakes on there just to test different like time frames of putting stuff, different strategies, and we've had snakes sell for like $25 to $35. It sometimes it's just timing. And that's about what he went for. The person's gonna probably buy some other stuff from me though, since they got such a good deal and are looking to build their collection. So they are gonna get a rack from me, a PVC rack. I'll bring that to Anaheim, and I'll deliver the snake to Anaheim as well. So we'll coordinate that, and there might be some other stuff, like both the auction snakes. Both those people are interested in purchasing other stuff too. So we'll see if I can make that happen. I know some of the best deals that I've gotten were add-ons to like a snake that I bought and waited for, and then was having shipped to me. And I was like, well, I'll take this. Throw this in the box. It's always kind of fun if it's something affordable and you can just add it on. Was that Anna in here? Is Anna in here?
Anna Kirby's here, AK Morphs.
Wow. Yeah, her longhorn like cows out there are like their horns are getting longer. She got them as like little babies, and they didn't have long horns. They were just little, and they're super cute. Yeah, she's one of my favorites. But that's pretty much the updates for my week, other than when I just pulled up here a little while ago. Like there was like crazy winds, and it was like a dust storm, like I was watching like The Rock and Scorpion King or something. Like I couldn't even see across the street. There's how much dust was picked up and moving down the street like a hurricane. It was, I don't know what that was all about, but it seems to have calmed down now.
Yeah, big shout out to Anna. I love watching her stories. It's crazy the weather shit that she has on her ranch. I think it's like flooding going on just recently. But really cool watching your stuff, Anna. Well, my stuff. What happened with me this week is I've had my third clutch right now back there. There's a highway girl laying on eggs. She's got this big old tower going. I haven't counted it yet. I figure I'd do them after the show. I had 2 other clutches this week, so it's been a pretty big week for clutches for me. And I'm gonna have to fire up my hot box pretty soon because my cooler incubator is going to be filled with this clutch. And I think there's probably going to be at least one more clutch coming either tomorrow or very soon afterwards. So big week here at 403 Fauna as far as clutches. And, speaking of Morph Market auctions, I always just check in on the Morph Market auctions just to see what's there, see if there's anything that I'd like to add on. And there was a snake put up that was on my saved list on Morph Market. And I was like, no, I was thinking about buying that snake. And when I was looking at the prices it was going for, it was just ridiculously cheap. Like, I think the bid on it was $125. In fact, let me pull up that snake right now just to show you what I picked up. So here it is right here. It's a fire or vanilla clown, 100% double het DG and hypo. Now I believe that the price on this was $1,200. So it was a price, a little bit out of my price range, but certainly an animal that would work perfect in my projects. So I've got a bunch on my save list that I just save and look for sales on them, or look if they put on auction. And this one was put up on there, and it was, I think, $125. This is a $1,200 animal. And I was just watching the little $5 bids going on, and I thought I'd join the fray. I put in my little $5 bid, and then 2 more people bid, and I didn't want to wait around for this crazy $5 bid, so I bumped it up to $200. I was willing to go up to $500 to go to war for it, and surprising, that $200 bid just drove off the other guys. And it kind of shows you the kind of people who are on the Morph Market auction just chipping away at these super cheap prices for these animals. And it's crazy what you can get on there for the prices. And this guy's going to go perfectly with the projects that I have. One thing there's no pastel in it. Like the males that I have in the DG Clown project have pastel. This one doesn't. And I'm hoping it's vanilla, because I do have some fire in this project, and hopefully it'll be vanilla. So I'm really excited to add this guy. It's from Chimera. This is I think the 3rd snake I bought off Chimera, and it was pretty cool when they messaged me. They're all, hey, congratulations, same shipping address, does Tuesday work? And I just sent the money off, and I'll be getting this animal in on Wednesday. So that's pretty much it here at 403 Fun. I think it's been a couple months since I've added a snake to the collection, but I just couldn't pass up $200 for this. That's like $1,000 off this animal. Just a crazy deal that I got on it.
Yeah, he's got good ancestry. Like, can you imagine what that snake would have been worth like a couple of years ago?
That's like a $5,000, $10,000 animal just a couple of years ago.
It's pretty awesome, and he'll be perfect for the snakes that you've held back. It's going to be really cool, and he looks nice too. Look at his head pattern; looks good. He's a cutie.
Okay, do you have your rat ass snake of the week ready to go?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's do that one. Okay, so every week Jason shares off a snake from his collection, the rat ass snake of the week. Feel free to guess at the genes here. Okay, looks black pastelish to me.
That's what it is. It's not a complicated snake this week. I just grabbed something really quick, and I thought when this girl hatched that she was also chocolate, but I'm not so sure now over time that she is. But she's het albino and het hypo. And her sisters sold to people, and I just like held on to her. She was a little bit of a picky eater. At first, she had 3 sisters, well, 3 siblings born that were at the time after I bought that collection locally. The guy had some eggs in the incubator still, and she was in there with her sisters, and then 3 siblings, and they were like super black pastels, and none of them made it. I would have gotten them if they had, but yeah, they were all kinked up and had issues, and some people would say, see, that's why you don't do that pairing. But that wasn't me. That was the guy I got stuff from, and they could have been fine, but in this case they definitely weren't. And but the other 3 snakes are super healthy. She did have kind of a slow start. I'd feed her smaller meals. She took the longest to like eat, but then now she's fine. She'll even eat like baby rats sometimes, although I usually give her like a hopper mouse or ASF. But the other last week she had a baby rat. So
Very cool.
yeah, I don't think there's chocolate in there, but she's very chocolatey.
Yeah, it does look like a really great example of a black pastel. It's possibly the hypo and the albino het influence going on here.
It could be.
But black pastel hypo is one of my favorites. Yeah, I love black pastel. Beautiful animal.
Yeah, she's a cutie.
Okay, shout out of the week goes to Jessica Hare from Hare Hollow Farm. She was the one who guessed our problem of the week last week. I'm going to bring up the problem of the week this week, and if you want a shout out, answer it correctly. You'll also be entered for a raffle of a snake from myself and Jason at the end of the year. And if you want to be a guest on our podcast as well, you'll be invited. That no pressure for that. But Jessica was our shout out of the week this week because she answered the problem of the week correctly. Let me bring up the problem of the week this week. I try to make the problem of the week relevant to the subject that we're talking about. I hope this one's not too sensitive, but here's our problem of the week. Feel free to guess. We've got 25 people in here. I think that's the most we've had this early in the show. So,
hello, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Okay, so guys, first one to guess it. Now I know we do have some previous winners here, like Quest. Quest is here. I think Banana Amore won one already. So guys, if you've won already, let's give the other people a chance to guess at it. Here's our problem of the week. Okay, this ball python breeder got himself into hot water when he criticized Texans about their lack of a generator during a deep winter freeze. A, Argen Reptiles. B, Ball Pythons and Company. C, Beast Morphs. Or D, Ball Pythons 101. And we've got a lot of guesses already. First one was Acox Reptiles. I don't think you won before, have you? But it looks like everybody knows that Chris Searcy got himself into a little bit of hot water a couple of years ago. Are you aware of this story, Jason?
No, but I did know that he got into it with some people and had heard some rumblings that people didn't like him or whatever. And I've only chatted with him of a tiny bit. He had a monarch male, just a plain monarch male on Morph Market, like, I don't know, a year and a half ago or something. And I commented how, like, what a nice example of it was. It was so pretty. It had white coming up like the alien heads. It just looked super healthy and pretty. And it was $3,500. So I couldn't buy it. But I chatted with him a little bit and he seemed fine to me. I don't know him very well, but I do sometimes see his posts on Morph Market, and all the time I've saved snakes that were ones that he's bred. So he's got nice stuff. He's got a bunch of hurricane stuff and some things that I like. And he was nice in all my chats with them. So
yeah, you know what? I remember when that happened, and oh man, the community was all over him, like cancel culture. That was during that time of cancel culture, and man, they just wanted to cancel him big time. But you know, honestly, what he said, even though he said it in a very brutally honest way, it was true. And I know even here in San Diego, the weather isn't really something I should worry about. But there were a couple of times when my electricity got out for like 8 hours or so, and I had eggs in the incubator, and I was a little bit worried about that. And we never know with how crazy weather's been in our world lately. There might be a time where it just snows in San Diego and power goes out. I'm screwed. So maybe that's something that I need to be thinking about as well. But I kind of wanted to talk about how people who have been canceled have been able to get out of that, and maybe relate it to Mike from NSane Clown Pythons. But Chris, he's completely gotten out of that, and I think he's done a really good job. Jay Cox mentioned that he's a really cool guy, and I follow him on Instagram, and just to see his posts, how he shares things about his life and his family and everything, I think he's from what I see from him, he seems pretty cool. And honestly, how everyone jumped on him at that time, I found it a little bit unfair to him. And I just want to talk about, is there any way that Mike can get out of this situation that he's in? So let's talk about that.
Sure.
So, of course, the stolen Sunset Clown last week when we talked about this, we didn't know who stole it. I don't think it broke yet who stole it yet, right? But we know that Natural State Exotics, this clown, belonged to him. And we both saw it at the show. I covered it in my video. And to think that it was gone, and just putting myself in Dave's shoes, I just felt absolutely horrible. And I had no clue that anyone from that station, whether it's Mike or KG&D or Matt Byram, who were all part of that, I didn't suspect them at all. Some people claim that they suspected him of that, but it's just crazy to think about how this all came out. And I first heard of it when Darian Drollinger on Facebook, I checked in the Facebook first, and I saw this post from him. I got an NSane deal on a Sunset Clown. And when I saw that, I was like, no way. Is he accusing Mike of who stole
what? Darian, stir the pot? No way.
It's funny. Darian's been on a roll this week, whether you like him or you hate him. And if you don't follow him on Facebook, it's pretty entertaining on there. And did you see this post on Facebook?
Yeah, I follow him and chat with him on Facebook sometimes. Eventually, we'll have him on the show. And David was invited again on the show today, but he had messaged me that just so much has been going on for him this week that, and you can imagine all the messages he's getting. Like, he's returned every message to me, like, fairly promptly, and he's just been so nice. Sometimes when something like this happens to people, they're involved in any kind of controversy and they get hundreds of messages. Like, it gets annoying to like retell the story and rehash it and go over it, but he's been as like friendly as can be with me. I knew his reputation was good from what I had heard, but just my talks with him and not knowing him that well, he's treated me just like somebody that he has known that he respects, and he's just very friendly and straightforward. And he wrote it down to see if he can come on. Like, he's checking his schedule. He'll see if he can come on next week, and so probably next week we'll have him on and talk about some of the more positive things and experiences he's had in the hobby. So maybe next week. Not today. He couldn't make it. But like it's an unfortunate thing. Like, we saw that snake at the show. He had slashed the price on it, kind of showing what the market value has been recently on it. And then just like, I mean, who wouldn't want 5 figures in US currency for a snake nowadays, with the economy and everything before the presidential elections? Like, now is a tough time to sell stuff compared to the last few years. And it was a good snake. It takes a while to make. It was nice looking and would advance your projects a lot. And I took a good look at it when I was there, and I was like, wow, this guy's got so much cool stuff. And I never thought that this would have come out of that. So I talked to him about some of the details on it. I also watched the MJ video where he wanted to break the news first, like Tom Brokaw, and I haven't watched one of his shows in a while, but it was informative and entertaining. And yeah, it's unfortunate. Like, can people turn things around from wronging people in some sort of hobby or industry? Yeah, I've seen it happen lots of times where certain companies or certain like individuals will do some like super shady stuff, and um, they just keep trucking, they just keep doing their hobby, and eventually somebody wants what they have. And sometimes people build a really good reputation, and it seems like they do everything within reason, right, and then they make a big mistake. And yeah, cancel culture. But we've seen that a few times with things in the recent years that I've been back in the hobby. And I don't know, I mostly just do business with people that I trust, people that are friendly and willing to like share info and knowledge and carry on a friendly conversation. People that don't do that, they seem like they're all about the money. They aren't very friendly and open. Like I generally don't do business with them again. Like, I don't get warm enough feeling. So I go with my instincts. And um, I actually had a chat with Mike at this show because I sort of know who he was. But one of my friends sold him monsoon baby last year, and that was expensive snake. I don't remember what he bought it for. Let's just say 8 to 10 grand. I'm not sure exactly, but it was something like that. And he doesn't live super far from me, like he's driving distance. He what the snake wasn't eating very well, like it was before it was sold, but then it shipped to Mike, and for like a couple months it didn't really eat well, and he was stressing my buddy out about it. And hey, and my friend's like, hey, you try this or you try that, hey, you can send the snake back, whatever, we'll figure it out. And he seemed worried. I had even interjected, I'm like, hey, you can like have him drive it up over to me, and I'll feed it soft first, and give it essentially irresistible food, and then give it back to him later when it's pumped up. But I think Mike has ASFs, and that wasn't a factor. It just was just didn't do well for him right away in acclimating. I don't know, and eventually it was fine. So that's like my only real interaction at all with him. I'd seen him at shows. I'd heard his name because of the reference to the music band, and so like the name is kind of recognizable, like his brand that he's created. In fact, when I talked to him at Pomona recently, and I even said something about his name, and it came out as NSane Clown Posse, and he's like, "Oh no, Pythons." I was like, "Oh yeah, right," because it's just it's kind of a takeoff of that. And we chatted for a while. He was right near Matt Byram, and I had not met him in person, but was familiar with his name and some of the stuff that he'd been working on, like sunset stuff. He had a lot of banana possible het sunset stuff last year this time, and I was interested at that time of taking a roll of the dice on it. But I ultimately didn't on any of the snakes that were like 50% possible het. I just didn't. And but I really like Matt a lot. Other people do. I got to chat with him for a bit longer. We kind of hit it off pretty well, and he said good things about Mike. Sometimes you do good business with somebody. Maybe they're not like your best friend or whatnot, but everything seems on the up and up. Like you get a professional vibe from them. Everybody else is vouching for him and stuff. Like, you hear all these stories now. Oh, he did this and he did that. Well, like, why didn't you speak up about it before? Like, I'm not scared to like talk to people directly to hash stuff out. Like, if I'm at work, like I'm not working right now, I'm enjoying my vacation, but like if I'm at work, like, and I have a problem with somebody, I don't very often because I'm super nice at work, but sometimes I'll have like a disagreement with somebody over something, and I'll take it to them directly. I won't just like go over their head and make a big thing about it until like that's actually like what you have to do. You can't resolve it, you know, respectfully between each other. And you know, I didn't really hear about anything bad about him, so I had no inclination or thought that, you know, there was anything weird about him. I will say, I get a vibe from people when I hang out around them, and when I can look them in the eyes and like talk to them and shake their hand. There's a lot you can pick up on, especially if you're like a Gemini like me. Like, I'm very perceptive, and like my chat with him at that time at the show, after I was pretty much just spending a bunch of time with Matt, was like, I don't know, like, not especially warm, but there wasn't anything for me to think like, oh, there's, you know, I don't like this guy, or there's anything wrong with this guy, or he's shady, or I didn't pick up on anything like that from like a 5, 6, 7, 8 minute conversation with him. But he didn't really look me in the eyes. That was the one thing that I got, was like, I pretty much, he, like, I'm talking to him for like 7 minutes, so I'm hearing a little bit about some of his stuff and where he lived, and he was talking about housing and maybe wanting to move and some different stuff. And like, he didn't look at me in the eyes at any point that we were conversating. What does that mean? I don't know. It left me kind of questioning that. It left me with, I don't know, that's like not usual. But I don't know anything about him other than that. And I had talked to him about like, hey, maybe you guys would like to come on the show, and we'll talk about, you know, Desert Ghosts and different projects, and you know, the hobby. And they were both up for it. He was like, yeah, just message me sometime, and we'll coordinate. And I was like, cool. And so I would have done that. But then all of this stuff comes out, and you know, like, when you steal something, it really rubs people the wrong way. And when you aren't like real about something, then that also like even worse. Like, I'm not a big fan of liars. It's not like I've never lied in my whole life. It's not like I've never stolen anything in my whole life. Like, when I was younger, you know, I was a little punk kid. Like, we all learn our lessons though, and I don't surround myself with people that I don't trust, people that do a bunch of drugs. Like, I'm past that. Like, people that are really negative and bring you down, like, I don't want no part of that either. I don't need that in my life anymore. And it's important to surround yourself with good people. And I had no reason to think, you know, that anything was like questionable really about him. That's why I wanted to talk to him, and I did for a little bit. And again, like, now that this is all out, like, that doesn't paint a very good picture of this guy's integrity. Like, he said that it was just a joke once the pressure was on, and he believed that there was police, like the police had gotten a hold of video from the show, and that it was going to be a felony for whoever was caught. Like, then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, I have your snake, that's a joke. Like, that's not a very funny joke. And people aren't going to like that. Like, it's better to just like fess up that you did something and be honest about it. Even something like this, like, sometimes people make mistakes, and you just got to make it right. Like, if you do something wrong, if you wrong somebody in some sort of way, like, just do what you can to atone for that. And you know, most people that steal something aren't planning on, you know, having like this like consciousness, like, evaluation, and like then like doing the right thing. But you know, it speaks more in volume about somebody's long-term character if they can own doing something wrong. So, like if I was a judge and I had to oversee all sorts of crimes and stuff, and the person is like remorseful and it's just a very eloquent, sincere apology, like then they're going to get less of a sentence. You're going to go a little bit easier on them. Obviously, they have, a good heart and they just made a mistake and now they're dealing with it. People that just ride out those spider webs of lies and do people dirty, it's difficult to forgive them right away. So, like, can he turn it around? Like, maybe if he were to just like own it and talk to the person that he took it from and relay enough sincere apology and do something nice for that person, something nice for the hobby, and publicly like make a statement. I've seen people in the time that I've been back on the hobby be involved in various controversies and cancel culture type stuff was brewing, and then they make a video on YouTube and they like give like a half-hearted apology. Like that's pretty much that doesn't sit very well with me. And I think other people in this hobby have encountered that in their personal lives, in the industry, at work, in their relationships with their families. And it's that's what holds weight with me, and respect is when people can own when they're wrong. I've done all sorts of bad stuff in my life, Mark. Like you could tell I'm a nice guy, right? Here I am on the show with you. Like I'm a really nice guy, and I do.
I would trust you with my collection, Jason.
I do kind things and generous things left and right for people all the time, because if you put good out in the universe, like in positivity, it will come back to you. And a lot of people will look at it as like, oh, the nice guy finishes last, like people will take your kindness for weakness. Yeah, sure, sometimes those things happen, but ultimately, if you believe in karma and you are a good person with a good heart and you do what you can to help others and be kind and cheer people up, and like it will come back around to you when you least expect it. When you're hurting, when you need a shoulder to cry on, or when you need some help, or when you need cheering up, like I believe in that wholeheartedly and fully, and that speaks volumes when people can admit when they're wrong and then like do good things. You can move on. Like this doesn't have to be something that defines him forever. Like everybody makes mistakes. Not everyone owns them. Not everyone grows up and matures and changes their life. But you can learn from things. And I mean, most of us have learned not to steal when we were like getting in trouble for it as teenagers, right? Like I remember I was like, Mark, I was like 4 years old or 5 years old, and I went to this little like market that had like crafts and just different things that had like toys from like the 80s and stuff. They had candy at the register. It was like a 5 and dime type store at the time. It was called Benjamin Franklin's. And I went into that store, and when I was leaving with my mom, she was checking out with whatever she got. I don't remember picking anything out, but I grabbed a piece of candy, as you'll see nowadays, even at grocery stores, but by the register. I grabbed a piece of candy. I'm like 5 years old, maybe, if that. And like, I just I didn't know to pay for it. I didn't think anything about it. And I remember the cashier must have noticed, talked to my mom. My mom seemed like disappointed. They're like, hey, you can't like take this piece of candy just because it's right there. And like, I don't know, that stuck with me for a long time. And I was like a little bit embarrassed, but I didn't know any better. Like 4.5 or whatever it was. And but it stuck with me. And when I was a teenager and running around with the wrong crowd, sometimes I stole stuff with kids. And one time I went on a joyride, right? We're getting real sidetracked now. One time I went on a joyride. I was probably like 12 years old with a bunch of hooligans from the neighborhood. And we stole some truck that was probably like a construction guy's truck, some hardworking guy's truck that had like tools in the back and like a toolbox. And he's just like asleep, getting ready to, get some rest and like wake up and have his like, challenging life ahead of him of hard work. We drove around in this guy's truck like all night, like speeding in it and like throwing stuff out of it. And then we like until like almost the sun came up. And the reason why we stopped is because whoever was driving like drove it so hard that the engine block like cracked. It like overheated. So this guy lost a whole bunch of tools. His truck's broken down. He's not going to know where his truck is when he woke up. He's going to have to file a police report. He's going to have to deal with the insurance company. He's going to have to replace all his tools so he can make a living. Like, that was a pretty shitty thing to do. Pardon my language, but that was like, everybody makes mistakes in life, and some people more than others. Some people make the same mistake over and over. But, I learned a long time ago that stealing something does more harm than just the actual item being missing. And to be whatever age this guy is, let's say 40. I don't know how old he is. But let's say he's 40. Like, to not have, like, learned that stealing somebody's hard work that's worth so much money and blood, sweat, and tears, and just think that that's like something that you can get away with when there's somebody that like doesn't think that you would do that to them, and there's a certain level of trust. That's a pretty big mess up. And like, everyone's going to view that how they do, and that's why this is such a big like topic right now. It's shocking that somebody would do that, but when money's involved, like sometimes people just can't help it, and he'll have to learn from that, and hopefully he will. The only way to turn it around would be to, make it obvious that he felt bad about it and was going to do whatever it took to, make it right and learn from it and do good. I don't expect that to happen. When I've seen stuff like this happen in similar ways before, usually somebody just tucks tail and like sells everything and just gets out of the hobby, because now, you're viewed at a certain way. With this age of technology and social media and all the eyes, everybody's like judging everybody. Like, what's Mark got going on over there? I don't know if I like how he does things. Like, there's already a million eyes on you and people that are going to be judging you anyways. And I just feel that he probably will just get out of the hobby. But I don't know. That's up to him. Some people do this kind of thing not for money. But if he was somebody that was doing this purely for the love of the snakes, I don't think he would have taken that snake. And I don't think he'd have invested so much and so much high-end stuff. And I would guess that he is just going to get out of it. And then I've seen more people like everyone gangs up on them. Sure, cancel culture. Maybe they did something real bad. Maybe it wasn't so bad, but they just stick it out and ride out their reputation and just be like, that's fine. I'm just going to do my thing and you can hate on me if you want. Like, I've seen a lot of like jerks in the industry over time that I never thought those companies or those people would stick around, and they would. Like, when I got on Morph Market for the first time, like 2.5 years ago, whatever it was, and I was looking for stuff. I saw a seller that I remembered the same company name from like 20 plus years ago, like probably about 24 years ago, up in Northern California. I see his ad for some snakes, and I'm like, I know, I know that guy. I clicked to see the guy's name and profile and everything. Sure enough, that's the guy. And I was like, oh wow, yeah. I don't really care for that guy. That guy was such a jerk, and like he was really shisty and weird. But I wasn't the only one at that time in that area with that opinion. But he, 24 years later, is still in the hobby. So he likes reptiles, and maybe he just not very good with people. But I guess that's sort of my take on it, Mark. Like it's a pretty hurtful thing to do to someone when they think that you're their friend. And some people will just cut you off, just guillotine, and they'll never talk to you ever again, and that's understandable. Some people are more forgiving. What happens with this will just play out over time. It's hard for us to say without having a crystal ball,
Well, you covered pretty much everything that I was going to talk about with him. But a couple of things that I want to mention is, first of all, my impressions of Mike. Just watching him at that past Pomona show, I was really impressed with his passion for the hobby, and he was there interacting with customers and just talking about ball pythons. And it just looking at him, you could see his passion for the industry, and just to have this seemingly silly thing happen and to ruin his reputation that he's built. I don't know, his collection's probably definitely in the six figures. I don't know if it maybe even past $1 million. You mentioned that monsoon that he bought. I know he's known for really heavily feeding his animals, and to think that he was getting stressed over a monsoon that hadn't eaten in a couple of months is, for me, I barely got that Trojan clown I got from Jeremy Bott. It took me 2 months for that guy to eat, and I wasn't even stressing. I was just offering him every week that frozen thawed, and if he didn't eat it, no big deal. And finally he took one, and he's been eating like crazy since. So I know some people feed really crazy, and if that animal's not continuing that pattern that they're used to, it's going to freak him out a little bit. But he was very passionate. He had a collection that was worth, I don't know, I'm going to guess like probably close to $1 million, especially if he bought a lot of it during that really expensive time in the hobby during the pandemic. And just to see him throw it all away. Everybody talks about Dave and how nice he is. I bet you if you just asked Dave, could I borrow this sunset clown to run it through some of my females? I wouldn't be surprised if Dave said, sure, go for it, man. No problem. And there's been rumors that he actually did that during the time that he had the snake. I don't know how true that is, but man, earlier there was talk in the chat of it being a heist and how he was thinking about it the whole time. I don't know. I know you're involved with sports cards. Just recently, there was a $2 million heist at the Dallas Card Show. And these guys were 4 people that worked together to distract the vendor. And one of the guy at the end of the show, he was putting chairs away for an entire hour, and people thought that he was just a worker there, but he was the guy who stole that suitcase of $2 million cards. So it's just something more that vendors will have to think about. Cameras, being distracted. I know if I were ever to vend, what if I'm alone by myself vending? How am I going to keep track of everything? It's just so much to think about. And people have brought up that he previously was selling fake hets. And I know you talked about that, how come that wasn't brought up at the time. And I know that some people are afraid to call out some of the bigger names in the industry. I've heard snakes from Justin dying, and they didn't call him out for that, but because he's like the big dog of the industry. So it's just a really crazy situation. And I'm just wondering where he's going to go, because we have people like, remember that guy Samson who just really abused his snakes and everything? Apparently,
Yeah.
he's still working with his snakes in the background, and he has people working with him. I would do everything I could to try to. If that happened to me, of course, I would never steal anybody's. But I'm just trying to put myself in his shoes and try to think of what can I do to come back from that. First of all, I would talk with everyone that's part of that crew. I would deeply apologize to everyone and try to, get them back on my side to show them that, that wasn't me. I made a big mistake. We don't know what's going on in his life. Maybe he has some other stressors in his life that caused him to do that. He didn't need to steal that snake. He's obviously got enough money to buy whatever he wants. So I can't understand why he did it, and what can he do to come back from that. I know some people have their thoughts and are completely against giving him a chance. I personally would never buy a snake off him unless, over a long period of time, he showed me that, he totally made a mistake and is remorseful for that. So that's kind of my thoughts on the situation. You've covered pretty much a lot of the things that I was going to talk about. Let me go through the chat here, Jason. Give me some more thoughts before we close it out.
Well, just that you can always turn something around and make your life better. Like, you don't have to define yourself by like one moment and one, time of weakness or bad decisions. Like, I've made lots of bad decisions in my life, but it took me a long time to like grow up too, and like mature and like learn from that stuff. And just because I've been sober so long, just because I feel like I do a lot of nice things, like, that doesn't make me perfect. Like, I still make mistakes. Sometimes I'll still get a little bit moody. I mean, not too much lately. Like, I don't even really get very road ragey. It's really not worth it. But like, everybody has their own stuff that they're dealing with. Everyone has a lapse of judgment. Nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. Not everybody truly like learns from them, though. Like, this is the type of mistake that, on principle is like, it shouldn't have even occurred, and he should know better. And it's a pretty big mistake. And it's essentially a felony. I got one on my record for punching a police officer. He had it coming. But there's consequences for your actions, and you have to learn from the stuff that you've done wrong, and have a little bit of therapy, talk things out with people, read some books on it, share, and like grow as a person. And he could totally do that. It's kind of a red flag to me when somebody, like I said, is older and still making those types of mistakes, rather than emotional stuff like moodiness or yelling at a spouse or whatever. Like, it's a pretty big mistake, and that doesn't mean again, like, it doesn't have to define you. You can correct it in the sense of never doing it again. Pretty simple. He doesn't need to steal anything from anybody. He's got money. He's got a house. I heard him talking about real estate stuff, and like, his life's not so bad. Right now he's probably feeling a little bit stressed out and anxious about it. Hard to say. Like, I've met some people in my life that were just complete Adam Henrys, and like, they just don't care what anyone thinks about them, and they're just rude and mean, and just like choose to be that way, and just don't care what people think in general overall. And that always just shocks the heck out of me, because I'm not like that, and I don't want to be around people like that. But just because somebody did something wrong doesn't mean they're like evil, like Jeffrey Dahmer or something. Like, it's not the end of the world. It's all in how you react to it, and how you like deal with the aftermath of it. You're going to make a bunch of excuses, or are you gonna own your shit? You know, are you gonna like apologize? Are you gonna like clarify on some stuff? Do you have any remorse? Those are things that I have not seen yet, because I was not like on a regular talking basis with him. I only talked to him for the first time at that show hours before that happened. So, you know, like it's really, it's up to him, not so much the community and the industry, the hobby and the personalities. Like, you know, like I said, like owning stuff and like, you know, atoning for things goes like a long way, even if many people will never forget it, and many people won't forgive you, many people never do business with you, many people will label you as whatever anyways. Like, you can still turn things around. So ultimately, to answer your initial question in a very roundabout, long-winded way, like, you can make the most in life. You can learn from stuff, and you can choose to better yourself every day, and, you know, atone for things that you've done wrong. And that's really, that's up to him. So that kind of remains to be seen, and we'll just see what happens over time.
Yeah, you know, Mike, if you're watching this by any chance, if you want to start your redemption arc, contact me and we'll get you on the show, and you can tell us your side of the story. There's two sides to every story, and we want to hear yours. We haven't heard from you since this started. I hope you're contacting Bomb Projects and Dave and Matt Byram, and you're talking with them, because that's your way back into this, is convincing them that you're atoning for your mistake.
Yeah.
Any last words, Jason, before we close this out?
I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, you can always turn something that's bad and uncomfortable in your life into something that's positive. It's really just like in your mindset, and it's really just up to your attitude and maturity, you know, and growth. Like, all sorts of things have happened to me that are very challenging and difficult and somewhat negative in the last handful of months. And I'm about as happy as I've ever been. Like, you know, it's all in how you look at it. Like, you can choose to be a good person. You can choose to be happy every day. I make a choice. I don't let the world decide whether I'm happy because I have this or I don't have that. Like, every day I wake up with a reasonably good mood. Today I was pretty sleepy and had a headache. But every day, like, I just choose to look at the positive of things. And I surround myself with positive people. And that's, you know, that's really the lesson in this. You know, look at what's the silver lining. What are the positives? How can we look at this as like something that's good that happened, in a way? And, you know, Dave is a really nice guy, and hopefully we'll have him on the show soon. I'd love to talk with him in more length about the positive experiences that he's had, and how he's developed such a good reputation, and focus more on those things than negative stuff that happens. And I'll let you know in the next few days whether that fit in next week's schedule for him, or when we're next having a show, and when we can coordinate that with him. But he is kind enough to try to coordinate that with us and fit that in when it works for all of us. And yeah, it's definitely been a controversy this week. A lot of people talking about it. It's a big, you know, it's a big topic and issue, and that's why we're covering it. And everybody has their own take and their own viewpoint and their own experiences with him. Some people, it's got them riled up because they've been burned on heads and things like that before. And so it, even by like somebody else, you know, just different experiences in the hobby. And like, you know, it kind of rubs people the wrong way, you know. And sure, everybody jumps on the, not exactly the bandwagon, but the crucifixion like path of like, oh yeah, let's be mad at this guy and take it out
Yeah.
on him. Yeah, the angry mob, you know, thing. Like, we don't have like hangings or guillotines anymore in our country, and rowdy mobs, and there's a reason for that. And on online and social media, a lot of people gravitate towards drama. A lot of movies are drama movies and thrillers, and a lot of social media stuff is it's almost like an entertainment value for people to see somebody fall on their face. And I just try to look at the positive and be aware of what's going on. Like, how can we make it so this is less likely to happen ever again? Yeah, more cameras. Somebody who has a $10,000 snake on a table with other snakes has the ability to put a Ring camera setup, or a GoPro, or some sort of surveillance. It sucks to have to come to that, but that's probably really a good security measure to take. And yeah, just look at the bright sides. So one of the bright sides of this is Dave is a really low-key guy, from what I hear. When I talk to him, he's very easygoing and mellow and not egotistical at all. Like, now everybody, like, there's a big spotlight on him about how his reputation is so good from having done things the right way for so many years, done people favors and done people right on deals. Like, that karma, even though he had this happen, and I talked to him in the in between and say, hey, I'm sorry, I hope this works out for you. Let's just look at this the right way. We'll see what happens. Like, there's people trying to help you with it. And sure enough, like, the snake is back at his house. So, like, it's not the end of the world. And he's not freaking out, super, like, angry about it. Like, he feels disrespected and saddened that this has happened, that somebody would do this to him. But, like, it all worked out in the long run. And now there's going to be a whole bunch of people that want to talk to him and do business with them. So sometimes things have a neat way of working themselves out. So I'm really just looking at the positives, and next week, whatever guest that we have on, we'll find a way to talk about the lighter side of the hobby and some of the good things that we've encountered.
Sounds like a plan, but I got to hear about your punch and cop story someday. So
I'll tell you all about it.
Kind of worms, you got to let us know about that.
I got all sorts of stories like that, all sorts of experiences, and I've learned from them. So yeah, we'll talk about that sometime. And you know what? Not that far away is the Anaheim show. I thought I'd get a hotel last time, but I didn't. I was just able to just drive back here. And this time, I'm definitely going to need to get a hotel. And there's one that's right by the event center there. And that is my plan, to book a place with them in the coming days here, and be there Friday night and Saturday night. And maybe if I have to, go into the show early Sunday to drop off the snake. But I'll be there on Saturday all day. So hopefully I can get you to come on Saturday this time.
Maybe I'll definitely be there one of those days. But you guys heard it here.
How about Saturday, Mark? How about Saturday? Let's plan that.
Okay. Anaheim's much closer than Pomona, so maybe I'll do Saturday. But you guys heard it here first. Party in Jason's hotel that evening. Jason, I value your opinions. So thank you so much for the research and everything you've done on this subject.
And thanks for everybody tuning in today. That's cool that we had some pretty good viewership, and Anna Kirby coming in here and saying hi and mingling in the chat. That's so cool. Like, you've bought snakes from her. I have one of among my favorite snakes is from her. She's grown so fast. She was like the runt of the litter, and that snake is like my second best eater. Just chomp, 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 chomp. She's probably like breedable now. But I really like her a lot. And Anna has a very fun personality. It's very quirky and very funny. And she's really nice. and I'm honored that she came and watched the show today. I appreciate everybody else as well, and thank you, Mark, for doing what you do. And we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you, everyone that tuned in, and everyone who's going to watch the replay. Have a great week, everybody. See you later.
See ya.